At the beginning, a classroom scene followed where some boys were talking among themselves. One boy remarked that Kenta had brought a game to school. Another boy commented that if it was Yama-sen, and the first boy said they should play after school. Teru sat quietly at his desk until he suddenly called out to those boys, and with a tense face, stammered that he also played that game a lot, that he had already cleared it 4 times, and that his level was maxed out. One of the boys turned toward Teru, muttered an awkward response, and turned back away. Teru, panicking, sat down with shaking hands while the boys mocked him, saying that nobody asked him to brag, and that he could totally hear them. Another boy wondered if Teru just wanted to join in the conversation, but another boy brushed that idea off and said there was no way they would let him in. With a tense look, the boy sitting in front of Teru told him to know his place. Teru thought about how dividing habitats was a way for the weak to protect themselves. He was thinking that living creatures had their own way of dividing habitats, that the weak hid in the grass while the strong walked proudly in the sunlight. Then the scene changed to 10 years later. A school building appeared, and Teru was playing a game at his desk while some boys next to him were talking. One boy mentioned that the game he had bought recently was really fun. Another boy asked if it was the horror game they had talked about before. The second boy complained that he hadn't been able to sleep because of it, and the first boy teased him about ignoring his girlfriend again just to play games. The chat got cut off when someone pointed out Sayonji Rei. The students around her reacted by saying she looked amazing again that day. One student said that Sayonji Rei was the daughter of a super-rich Saibatsu family. Another student mentioned that she had topped the grades in the last mock exam. Teru watched quietly as more students said she had won first place in the city karate tournament, and that she was great in both school and sports, calling her the perfect, beautiful girl. Teru thought he already knew this since it was the same every morning. A student shouted to Rei asking for help with math, and Rei replied that she would study complex numbers with Satu-sun. The other students eagerly asked her about love letters, home parties, chorus contests, and help with the karate club. Rei calmly answered each question, telling them to leave their schedules on her desk, agreeing to go to a house party, and saying she was writing a reply to Shima-kun's letter. Teru wondered if Rei was like a princess or something, listening to everything at once. Once the crowd around her finally broke up, Teru sighed and thought again about how the weak hide in the grass while the strong walk proudly in the sunlight. He then wondered if the game he played was too tough on solo players. Nearby, some students excitedly suggested adding each other as friends in the same game. Teru, playing quietly, thought he didn't need to be popular, but wished he had at least one friend to play games with. The scene shifted to a gaming store. He sat alone at an arcade machine and felt like he was all by himself. After checking his watch, he saw it was already 10 p.m. and decided to play Zombie and Gun one more time before heading home as the perfect way to end the day. As he got closer to the game, he saw someone already playing and thought it was unusual to see a girl there before him. He wondered if she was smoking and if it was allowed in that place. He thought she looked flashy, but noticed her aim was really bad. He tried to help her by saying she needed to press the button and parry, but she ended up dying in the game and kicked the machine in frustration. When Teru nervously tried to talk to her, the girl came over, grabbed his collar, and yelled that she lost because of him. While holding him, she saw Teru's school uniform, let him go suddenly, handed him the gun, and walked away. He was completely confused about what just happened. Then he spotted an ID case on the ground, picked it up, and realized what it was. He started running through the streets, thinking it couldn't be true, because the girl from earlier seemed like someone who belonged in the sunlight. As he kept running, a girl suddenly came out of an alley and bumped into him, quickly apologizing before running off. A moment later, Teru heard screams around a corner and was shocked to see the girl from before, her face dirty after fighting off several boys. It was Rei. Holding her ID card, he stuttered her name. Rei wiped her face and admitted she had been caught. Teru, shaking, insisted he was just trying to return a lost item. Rei looked at him coldly and asked with a blank expression if he was the type of guy who could keep a secret. The scene then shifted back to school, where Teru was at his desk playing a game, thinking he was Mikaya Teru and alive. He reflected on how he had accidentally discovered Sayonji Rei's big secret and had run away right after to make sure she wouldn't find him. He reassured himself that because he had run away quickly, no one should have recognized him until Rei unexpectedly greeted him next to his desk, asking if he was Mikage since she wanted to discuss something. Teru freaked out and claimed she had mistaken him for someone else. Rei smiled, but a moment later, she looked really angry, kicked the wall behind him, and demanded to know why he was pretending. She called him by his full name in class. Teru squeaked out an apology. On the stairs, Rei questioned why he was saying sorry and got really close to his face. Teru, shaking, denied telling anyone what he had seen. Ray grilled him about his parents, teachers, or friends. She grabbed his face and made him look at her while he felt like his instincts were screaming that he was in danger. Teru was worried someone might catch them at school, but Ray told him he clearly knew the situation he was in. She warned him that if he mentioned this to anyone, even a little, there would be consequences. Teru, trembling, insisted he had no one to tell anyway. Ray said she didn't believe him. Teru desperately asked what he could do to make her trust him. Ray decided she would make herself believe in him by watching him closely until she could trust him from morning to night. Teru realized this meant he was being watched. She complimented him for figuring it out quickly and said it was pointless to run or hide. Then she announced that she had made up her mind and told him they would get along from now on, calling him Mikage-kun. He weakly agreed. Later at the arcade, Teru was stunned that Ray had followed him all the way there. She confidently stated that she was keeping an eye on him. Teru noticed she looked really flashy in that place. Ray mentioned that she had been watching Teru all day and realized he truly had no friends. Her words hit him hard. Teru snapped that it hurt coming from Sayonji-san, who had a lot of friends. Ray muttered, "Friends." Teru noticed she seemed upset and asked what was wrong. Ray brushed it off, but Teru felt the situation was awkward. Then Ray complained that the game machine wasn't fun and that it didn't hit the target. Teru insisted it was working fine. Ray got mad and asked if Teru was saying she was bad at the game. Teru nervously said no, thinking she was just being short-tempered. Ray then challenged him to a scoring match. After they played, she lost and shook with frustration. Teru felt bad because playing two-player was really new and exciting for him. He told her it was his first time playing a game with someone else. She suddenly cried, stomping her feet and saying it was so frustrating. Teru thought she was acting like a creature he couldn't understand and tried to calm her down. Eventually, with her cheeks all puffy and red, Ray accused him of cheating and asked why she was the one losing. Teru thought she was acting like a little kid and asked why she was so upset. Ray confessed that until now, there hadn't been anything she couldn't do, whether it was studying or sports. She grabbed his shoulder and begged Teru to teach her the game. Then she said this was perfect because she could also keep an eye on him to make sure he didn't talk. She announced they would meet again the next night. Teru thought to himself that she wasn't really listening. Over the next week, they kept meeting at the arcade and at school. Teru thought she was like a wild horse. One night, Ray was smoking and asked Teru if something was wrong. Teru nervously said no. Ray offered him a puff, saying that everyone thought cool smokers were awesome. Teru tried to say that smoking young was bad for you, but Ray told him to be quiet. Finally, Teru asked her when she started smoking. Ray was shocked, then suddenly asked if Mikage liked her. He freaked out and wanted to know how she figured that out. Ray said she just thought he seemed interested in people. Teru sarcastically replied, asking if he was a robot. Ray said it was just surprising. She then confessed that she started going out at night and smoking after she moved up to the next school. Teru was surprised she actually answered him. He asked why she did that. Ray explained that she got tired of being the popular rich girl, always smiling and meeting everyone's expectations. Teru nervously pointed out that she had a lot of friends, unlike him. Ray scoffed, saying those didn't seem like real friends. People were only interested in her because of her status as Sayonji. When you're put on a pedestal, the idea of friends disappears. Teru awkwardly apologized for bringing it up and admitted he didn't know how to respond. Ray said it was okay and that she didn't know why she talked so much either. Then Teru told her that the version of Sayonji he met at night was really charming and that he liked that. Ray quickly took out a cigarette, put one in Teru's mouth, and teased him for trying to look cool. Teru panicked, asking if he said something strange. Ray laughed a lot, saying he was funny. She touched his face and warned him that his bangs might catch fire, then lit his cigarette with hers. She teased him for making a funny face and complained when his cigarette fell, calling it a waste while he begged her to stop. She mentioned that if he took a puff, their break would end, which made Teru panic and say, "What, teacher?" while turning red and covering his face. Then the scene changed back to the classroom where Ray called out to Mikage-kun, and Teru thought to himself, Sayonji. Ray told him he had worked hard, but Teru insisted in his head that this was school. Ray pointed out that no one else was around and said she was going to the arcade first, telling him to hurry. Ray smiled and said she would see him later. Teru, surprised, replied yes and wondered if that was what it felt like to meet up after school. Then someone called out and Teru asked if they needed something. Two girls, Miki and Satu, came over. Miki asked Mikage-kun if he was free because she wanted to talk to him. The three of them then stood behind the school building. Teru thought these girls were often near Sayonji-sun and wondered if they were part of her group. Teru asked what they wanted with him, explaining that he had plans after this. Satu said she would be honest and asked what Teru's relationship with Rai-sama was. She introduced herself as Satu from Class A and introduced Miki as well, saying they were friends of Rai-sama. Teru was shocked that they called themselves friends. Satu pointed out that they had lunch together every day. Miki added that even in PE, they were always paired up. Satu said Rai-sama was so cute and always humble, while Miki mentioned that Rai never got mad at boys who teased her. Satu said Rai was always calm, and Miki said she really was a mature woman. Teru thought that everything they said was wrong. She explained that she had heard there was a guy recently hanging around Rai-sama, so she came to check, calling him quite a nobody. She explained that everyone admired Rai-sama and that it was normal to protect friends. That's why she stood up to Teru. Teru thought to himself that this wasn't right either because Sayeonji-sun was actually quick-tempered, disliked losing, acted childish, and was quick to get angry. Teru grabbed his clothes and struggled to find the words. Satu moved closer and mentioned that back in middle school, Teru was often overlooked during roll call, which earned him the nickname Air. She asked if Teru believed he could be something special with Rai. Satu approached him, questioning if he had been dreaming about being special, and then yelled at him to know his place and limits. Teru was taken aback as the phrase "know your place" echoed in his mind. Satu and Miki walked away, saying they had said all they needed to. Teru, sweating, sat on the ground and realized that what they said was true. The scene then changed to the game shop where Rai was sitting and smoking, saying she thought Teru wouldn't show up. Teru apologized for being late, and she smiled, suggesting they practice. They played, and as Rai concentrated, Teru told her her aim had improved. She blushed and thanked him. When her score beat his, she thought to herself that it was somewhat true. After the game ended with Rai winning, she blushed and wondered aloud if she had really won. She then asked Teru if he was holding back. Teru replied that he wasn't, and added that this was how good Sayeonji was, saying he felt it was only a matter of time before he would lose and that she learned quickly. He said that with this, the goal was achieved. Rai blushed and stuttered, but Teru went on to say that the need to be with him was no longer there. Rai was shocked and asked why. Teru took her hand and explained that if someone found out he was with someone like Sayeonji, it would be odd. He mentioned that he thought Rai realized that there was no one left to share her night adventures with, and that she probably understood this. Even though it was part of his responsibility to look out for her, it must have been hard for her. Teru added that Sayeonji was not like him. He bowed and apologized for the trouble he had caused her up to that point. Rai, feeling hurt, said she understood. When Teru saw her face, he noticed she was crying. She told him he was just like everyone else. After wiping her tears, she said goodbye and ran off. Teru watched her leave and reassured himself that it was okay, that it was for her own good, and that going back to their own lives was the right thing to do. He then turned to the game, put in a coin, picked up the gun, and started shooting zombies, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't fun anymore. He glanced to the side and remembered Ray's happy face. Suddenly, he put the gun down, grabbed his bag, and ran off, thinking about how they had fun together, and that he had a little hope in his heart. When Ray said, "Next, let's try a different game," he felt scared of being turned down and lacked the confidence to be with her. He believed Ray was always waiting for him. Then, he heard screams and saw blood on the ground. She was surrounded by a group of boys. Wiping blood from her nose, she mocked them for needing so many people to handle one girl. A man came up and said it was just a greeting, mentioning that he had heard Ray's friends had been dealt with before and that the Yakuza had something called pride. She remembered those guys from before. The man grabbed her collar and commented on her looks, suggesting she could pay with her body and asking if she preferred the shop or them, saying she could choose. Ray felt uncomfortable, and the man threatened that if she didn't make a choice, he would hurt her right there. Ray thought to herself, "Here we go again," wondering what she had been hoping for. She believed that even if she showed her true self, no one would accept her, see her, or love her. She concluded she had always been alone. Someone's feet entered the scene. It was Teru who swung his bag and struck the man in the head with great force. Teru was drenched in sweat, and Ray was shocked as the man fell to the ground. Ray called out, "Mikaze-kun," and Teru asked if Sayeonji was okay. Ray stammered that she was. Teru extended his hand and said he had called the police and they needed to run quickly. Ray shocked and let him grab her hand, and the two ran away. Ray remained stunned as they fled. Later, they were shown on the road again with Teru giving Ray a piggyback. Ray complained that she did not like it, but Teru said it could not be helped since her ankle was sprained and that they needed to move quickly before they were found. Teru noted the rain had stopped. Ray then asked why Teru helped her. saying it was just payback for a fight she started and had nothing to do with him. Teru answered that since she asked why he would say it, Sayonji was not fighting because she liked it back then. He mentioned the girl who came out of the alley with her clothes messed up and said he thought Rei was helping someone who had been attacked. Rei admitted she thought the girl was assaulted or something like that and that she got involved because she was more irritated than usual with her life as an elite young lady. Rei said she thought she might feel better if she hit someone and that a perfect excuse fell into her lap. She insisted she had not acted out of justice and said she was not a good enough person that someone should help her. Teru responded with, "Even so." Rei repeated, "Even so." And Teru blushing stammered out the word, "friend," asking whether someone really needed a reason to help a friend. Rei was stunned and repeated the word friend, and Teru confirmed it with a blush. Rei cried with a blush and reminded him that he had said she did not need to stay with him. Teru apologized. Rei said that apology was not enough remorse. Teru agreed and awkwardly said he had a racing game to recommend. She asked what it was and whether he wanted to play it together. Teru said yes, but Rei initially said no, causing Teru to react in confusion. Rei then said she was kidding and told Tara to tell her about the new game tomorrow during lunch break. Teru asked if they were meeting at the usual stairs, but Rei said she would come to the classroom instead. Teru questioned this, and Rei said she felt it would be okay if friends were around. Teru was confused. The scene shifted to the school building the next morning. Students were entering when someone called out Mikage-kun. Teru turned and saw Rei greeting him with good morning. Teru was startled and stammered at Sayonji asking about her outfit. She asked if it looked cool. Teru nervously wondered if it was okay for her to be like that. Rei leaned in, grabbed his arm, and whispered that since he made her his friend, he would take responsibility, calling it a promise. She laughed with a blush. Teru blushed as well and muttered in confusion. She urged him to go. Teru flustered, asked if she knew the proper distance between friends. Rei demanded what he meant. Teru quickly said it was nothing. Rei told him to speak clearly and kicked him lightly, causing Teru to yelp in pain. By the way, if you enjoyed the video, maybe consider liking and subscribing, please.